Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Joe Minert. I'm the City of Bowie Planning Director, and I'm here to welcome you to the virtual stakeholders meeting sponsored by the City of Bowie. And this is a city meeting, and it is for the purpose of getting your input or your questions answered about a project in the Bowie Gateway Center. This is a project, the Raising Cane's restaurant, and what is before us tonight is a revision to the conceptual site plan for the Bowie Gateway development, which is CSP 78020. And the property is located at 16401 Heritage Boulevard, and that's right there at the corner of Heritage Boulevard and US 301. I'm facilitating the meeting, and what I will do is just kind of go over a couple of the ground rules for participating. This meeting is being recorded and will be shown on the city's YouTube channel for future viewing. The limits are, or the meeting is limited to those who have registered. So only people who have registered are on this call tonight. We basically have everyone in listen only mode, and we use the question and answer function to ask questions. And we don't recognize raised hands during the presentation. Simply, if you have a question, put your question in the Q&A and I'll try to respond. And once the presentation by the applicant is completed, we will open it up to questions, and I will read each question that comes in individually, and we will get answers as best we can. So at this point, I think I've covered all of the rules, and I'd like to turn the meeting over to the developer's representative, who is Mr. Daniel Lynch. Dan? Have to unmute, Dan.
I'm sorry. Sorry about that, folks. Again, thank you very much, Joe, for setting this up. Again, my name is Dan Lynch, and I'm pleased to be here tonight on behalf of Raising Cane's with regard to its proposal for the site located on the south side of Heritage Boulevard at its intersection with US 301 and Bowie. I have with me here tonight representatives from Raising Cane's, including Ms. Felicia Bivens, Emily Dean, and Davis Walker. Emily Dean and Davis Walker are with the civil engineering firm of Kimley Horn, and they'll be handling the engineering on this project. As indicated by Joe, we're here because we filed what is called a conceptual site plan, and the purpose of that conceptual site plan is just to amend the use on this property to allow the eating and drinking establishment with drive-through service. After the review of the conceptual site plan is completed, we will subsequently file what is called a detailed site plan, which is more of a detailed drawing, which will show not only the proposed building elevations, but also very detailed specifications as to the layout of the building, our landscaping, stormwater management facilities, and parking. But again, today's application is conceptual site plan, and it's really set forth for this purpose of amending the use on this property that's located in the Bowie Gateway Center. Emily, if you would just bring up the slideshow that we prepared, and we can take the folks through that. So again, this is Raising Cane's. This is a new restaurant to Maryland. This is obviously one of the first that they're working on. It's a new concept. They're out of Louisiana, and Ms. Bivens, and when she gets up to speak, will give you a little more background on Raising Cane's. This restaurant, again, will be located on the property on the south side of Heritage Boulevard. Access to the site will be from Heritage Boulevard into the site. If you go to number 2. And I'll leave that slide for Felicia, number 3. Okay. What you have in front of you here is what's called a conceptual site plan. And you'll see that there are certain areas that are marked off in red. Those are the amendments that are being made as part of this application process. Emily is now pointing to the property, which is the subject of this change. It's highlighted in red. And again, that is designated as a sit-down restaurant. And we're going to be changing that designation from sit-down restaurant to an eating and drinking establishment with drive-through service. Number 2. Although this is really a conceptual site plan and we're not required to submit any detailed drawings, we did, for the purposes of this presentation, kind of come up with a footprint of the building as it will sit on the property. You'll see that there is a full access drive coming into the property. Can you just take it from Heritage Boulevard, and Emily's now pointing to that. That'll lead into the site, to our parking area and the associated drive-through area. I don't think we have at the present time an exact square footage of the site, of the building, but we'll work out that. And when we come back to it, the detailed site plan phase, we'll have more details as to square footage, number of seats, and a more specific layout. Again, this doesn't show anything such as landscaping. It's merely just conceptual plan put together just to give not only you, but Joe Meinhardt and his folks an idea of what's being proposed. Emily, next. And again, these are some conceptual architectural elevations. You'll see what the proposed Raising Cane's restaurant looks like and what we generally do. It's a one-story building. It is a mix of building materials, brick, fiber cement panels, brick, and stone to kind of add a little bit of interest to the property. You'll see, for instance, at the top drawing, you'll see, for instance, canopy and the proposed drive-through area, as Emily is pointing out. And then you go to the right of that, you'll see the proposed front entrance. And other details of the site. Again, this is merely being presented just for the presentation purposes. When we come back at the later phase, we'll have a more detailed drawing and give you a better idea exactly what it's going to look like. Although this is probably similar to what's being proposed. Again, once we get to the detailed site plan phase, we'll nail down exactly what we do. And obviously anything that we propose, we'll work with the city planners to make sure that it complements not only what is the architecture in the Bowie Heritage Center, but complements the architecture within the surrounding area. And with that, let me bring on Ms. Bivens. Felicia is here on behalf of Raising Cane's. And again, since this is a new restaurant to the area, we thought we'd bring someone from the company here to give you a little background on what Raising Cane's is all about and give you a little history in the company. Felicia?
Great. Thank you, Dan. And thank you, everyone. We're excited to have this opportunity to present to you here tonight. Raising Cane's was founded in 1996 by Todd Graves on the LSU campus. Last month, we opened the 600th restaurant for Raising Cane's. So although they're new in the Maryland area in this region of the country, they are well established throughout Middle America and the Western states. So we're excited to come to this area. Raising Cane's does one thing, and that's chicken fingers. That's their one love. They do have chicken fingers, coleslaw, fries, Texas toast, and colas. So when you come to a Raising Cane's, we know what you're going to order. It's just a matter of how many. So all the food is fresh, not frozen. They drop it into the fryer as soon as you place your order. So as well as being fresh and quick service, we also do, it is a very quick service. Even though it's fresh, it is turned around quickly. And the average drive-through time is around 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So they're very proud of that status as well. And also when Raising Cane's comes to a community, they're very active in local youth leagues and high schools, colleges, anything that will be memorabilia for the local residents within the restaurant, as well as supporting those local teams or activities in the community. Raising Cane's on the average has donated over $10 million in their local communities. And on opening day, they always make a donation to the local community. So just again, we're very excited and we'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. And with that, again, that's what we're here today to talk about. The proposal again is to do a Raising Cane's on this property, but the specific proposal is to change the use on this property from a sit-down restaurant to an eating and drinking establishment drive-through service. We'll be happy to answer the questions that you present to Mr. Meinhardt. Both myself, Ms. Bibbins, Emily, and Davis are all here to answer any questions you have. You know, obviously, we're not going to be getting into real detailed engineering questions, but if there is anything that our engineers can't answer, we'll be happy to do so. So again, thank you for coming, and we'd like to hear, we'll try to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And I will read the questions that come in as they come in. Again, I'm Joe Meinert, the City of Bowie Planning Director, and we're sponsoring this meeting tonight. So our message to anyone who is attending, who wants to participate, is to please type your question into the Q&A function, and I will read the questions individually, and hopefully we'll get your questions answered. I did want to mention that Dan described the conceptual site plan, and that's an overall plan for the entire Bowie Gateway Center. And that plan is pretty old. It's from the late 1970s. It's been amended 12 times. And originally that plan was intended to be, the property was intended to be developed as a several million square feet of Class A office space. And over time, the parcels in there have been sold and the conceptual plan changed. You know, for example, you have the Lowe's Home Improvement Center there. That was supposed to be an office site at one time. All of the retail that's up there at the northern end of Mitchellville Road, where the Target is, that was supposed to be employment and office use. So the conceptual site plan was amended to allow that. And very recently, the Taco Bell business, which does have a drive-through, was approved by the county as another amendment to the conceptual site plan. So that original conceptual site plan, while it's still in place, has been amended numerous times to create more of a mixed commercial development at Bowie Gateway. So that's what you see out there today. And I just wanted to point out that background, because the issue that's present now with this application is, should the conceptual site plan be amended to allow a drive-through restaurant on this parcel? And it wasn't stated earlier, but the Chili's restaurant, it was the former Chili's restaurant, will be demolished to make way for this new use. But the previous restaurant did not have a drive-through. And so this request now is simply to consider amending the conceptual site plan to have that drive-through capability. So at this point, I did want to go to the questions that we have, and we do have one question, and that is, what kind of additional revenue do you expect from adding the drive-through service and changing to a drinking establishment? Dan, you want to answer that?
What type of additional revenue
do you expect from adding the drive-through service and changing to a drinking establishment?
Well, it's an eating and drinking establishment. There'll be no, I hope that, just want to make sure, there'll be no alcohol served at this establishment. But it's not so much that you're adding revenue, and I'll let Felicia jump in, but it's more that this is the nature of the operation of a Raising Cane's restaurant. All of their restaurants have the drive-through service. And just like, for instance, the Chick-fil-A, that's part of the nature of their operation. It's a drive-through service, more of an additional accommodation to the consumer, as opposed to additional revenue generator. Felicia, do you have anything that you can add?
Yes, and I would just say that, it really is addressing the changing times, even pre-COVID. About 65 to 75% of our sales came through, even though we do offer a dining room and a patio outside, most sales were generated through the drive-through. So it really is based on customer preference. And those numbers have just increased, obviously, since COVID.
Okay, thank you, Felicia. The next question is, will the former On the Border site be included in this plan?
No, it will not.
Okay, is there anything you can elaborate on that? I think what we understand is that it's owned by the same company. Is that correct?
That's correct. The On the Borders was also purchased by Raising Cane's, but the purpose of this application merely is to address the former Chili's site. They don't have at the present time any plans for the former On the Border location. The reason why both were purchased, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was my understanding that that's the way the sellers wanted. They want to sell both the On the Borders and they want to sell the Chili's at one time.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Okay, that's
So we have
clear.
no choice but to buy both locations.
Okay, that's clear. I don't see any additional questions. We only have a couple of people who are participating tonight, so there may not be a lot of questions, but I did want to go over the schedule for the city's review. And by the way, this is not a decision that the city has final authority over. This is a project that is reviewed by the Prince George's County Planning Board and Prince George's County District Council. And the county council, district council gets to make the final decision on the request. So the city council will be having a public hearing on March 7th to review this plan and to take a position, and they'll send a letter down to the county so we can participate in the county hearings. So that's really the next step for this. Also, as Dan mentioned earlier, there will be, assuming that they do get the approval of the change to the concept plan, there will be what's called a detailed site plan submitted in the near future, which will be the actual engineered drawing that will show the actual construction characteristics, the details of the materials, the building materials, the landscaping, and everything that pertains to what will be built out there. And we will be having a series of meetings on the detailed site plan when it comes through, so that everybody will have a chance to participate and understand what's being proposed. So
yeah, Joe, I think you're right. I think you're right, Joe. There's a lot more to talk about when you have the detailed site plan. You see the actual engineered drawings, landscaping, architecture. It's a lot more to talk about.
Okay, so that's something we can look forward to, assuming that the conceptual site plan gets approved. I don't see any more questions. I'd encourage you at this last moment, if you have any questions, to type them into the Q&A function. Otherwise, March 7th would be your opportunity. The city council meetings are held in person at City Hall at 8 p.m. on March 7th. Those meetings are also broadcast live online, but if you want to participate, you have to participate in person. So if there are no other questions, we can close the meeting. Dan, did you have any other closing remarks?
No, once again, I'd just like to thank everyone who did participate. I thank you for coming tonight. And I look forward to working with any of you as we move through the process, both at the CSP phase as well as at the detailed site plan phase. So thank you very much.
Okay, and I'd like to thank our guests for attending tonight, the presenters for attending. And as I mentioned at the outset, this meeting will be recorded, and the recording will be on the city's website if you care to go back and reference that. So thank you for participating tonight, everyone. And if you have any questions, feel free to call the planning department at the City of Bowie. So everyone have a great night. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.